Shalom, shalom. First off, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, the Hashem Yahushai, the Hashem Akakadash, Yahweh being the true name, Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being named for his only begotten Son, who the world eagerly calls God, and Jesus Christ. I want to give double honors to our apostles, of us, our elders, a great millstone, that taught us truth and rule well, and salutations to your hopeful expression of truth and honesty, sincerity. This is Brother Elisap. Come to know, listen to the spirit power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and this lesson's through the spirit. Just want to elaborate more on a topic that we spoke on last night, and also spoke on a couple days ago, or a day or so ago, going into, not marrying every single woman that you deal with. And this video provides some good edification, some good points on the mentality and how the mind of a single woman works, a single mother. Okay, and as you get up in age and years, me, I'm in my mid-30s, approaching 40s, and the older you get, the dating pool and the options become more and more limited. At my age, every woman I'm meeting that's my age, they already, have a family started or have had kids. So we have to really date like extremely young to avoid, that situation of being with a woman that already has kids by another man. It becomes very difficult to find women like that, especially if you're looking for women around your age. Now, as far as younger women, say you brothers want to choose to marry or date women that's in their 20s, have a higher chance of meeting a woman that probably doesn't have kids because she's probably fresh out of college. If she uses wisdom, she didn't get pregnant in school because she had to get her degree. So they're getting fresh out of school, fresh out of college, and they're stepping right into their careers. You might have a chance around the 20s or so to date a woman. But, then again, the age gap is not always attractive. Okay, so that's difficult for men to find women that, or don't already have this type of baggage. But what this guy talks about, going into the edification on why it's bad, dating single mothers and the problems that you have to deal with, and this is why we tell brothers, hey, you don't have to marry every single woman that you're laying down with just because you're laying down with her and she's an Israelite by heritage. She's not an Israelite by faith. She's not an Israelite by faith when you met her. She doesn't believe in Yahweh by Yahweh Shai. Okay, you're not obligated to take her as your wife. If you meet her as a concubine status and she's already been passed around, by hundreds of men, more than likely she's not going to submit to you. Her mind has already been tainted, so you're going to have trouble in the flesh. So you might want to deal with her on a level as a concubine only, versus a woman that does have her right mind. You deal with her as a wife. But I want you to listen to what this video says of the caution, of taking a woman with kids. Okay.
Mother is one of the worst decisions dating a single mother is one of the worst decisions that you could possibly make as a single man looking to have a successful, long-lasting relationship. Especially if you are a single man in your prime years, which is, we'll say, 30 to about 45 years old. You're at the right position in your career, your income is increasing, you have a stable business, and you choose, yo, dumbass.
Me personally, I can relate to that because that's where I'm at in my own personal life. I have a degree, I've had a stable career in the military, and I shifted to having other careers outside the military in different jobs and positions, and now I have a stable business. So it's not wise for me to go backwards and bring on unnecessary trouble just because I like a woman, I'm attracted to her, and she wants to be intimate with me, and I want to be intimate with her. She has to be vetted, okay?
Chooses to date a single mother, someone who has made the ultimate decision, deciding to have a child, and then failing abjectly in that endeavor and ending up with a broken household. So let's talk about that. If you're a man in his prime, investing your time, energy, and resources into dating a single mother bears almost zero ROI for you. In general, not in every single situation, but in general. The percentage chance odds are that dating a single mother is going to end with your demise, and it's going to leave you at a deficit. So if you date a woman who has a child by a man she's no longer with, you're probably looking at a woman who is potentially divorced, obviously separated, has a lot of mental, emotional, and financial baggage and trauma.
And that's a big problem, a huge problem, is that mental baggage and trauma. You end up becoming the punching bag to pay for what she was angry from the last father did to her. And she does it to you subconsciously. And so, sometimes it's not even intentional. You know, she doesn't wake up planning, okay, I'm going to fuck him up for what this other guy did to me. It just happens by nature. Okay? Because they have a lot of bitterness and envy built up. And then they execute it against you and you did nothing wrong. And they begin to treat you poorly, you know, because she's getting exposed to good treatment, but she didn't get a chance to get her revenge on the last guy. So sometimes people, when they meet somebody that has a good spirit, they tend to subconsciously shift towards treating that person as their punching bag. So all of a sudden, you get all the wrath and anger that should have been released on the other guy. You know, it comes out onto you. And then you have to deal with the emotional trauma from the kids. Here it is, you took mommy away from their daddy. That's how they look at it. So they don't respect you. They become envious of you, and you get into a lot of contention with the kids. And then you want to try to instill discipline because, hey, this is a child that should respect an adult and a father figure in their life. And if you try to do any type of discipline, well, now you got threats and a problem with that other father because he ain't about to have no man put hands on his kids. You know? So it's all bad for you.
On a biological level, she's already been ran through by and impregnated by this man, so her internal biology inside of her womb is actually more prime and receptive to having continued offspring with the man who impregnated her, who she had children by.
Right. When you release your semen in her, especially she gets impregnated and she pushes out a child for you, you know, that imprint, that DNA is permanently walking with her forever, for life in her mind. And the scriptures talk about the two of you becoming one flesh. She's still one flesh with another man that she had kids with. So her spirit is going to be linked and attached. It's not fully cut off and broken from the other guy. So it's very easy for him to, at the drop of a dime, at one little touch of a pinky, rekindle some intimacy. Just look at her a certain way and catch her at the right time, the right moment alone. And he pull a kiss on her. And that's it. That's all she wrote. All those feelings, because women are ran by feelings and emotions, come rushing back at that one touch of that last father, you know, no matter what happened in between them. Next thing you know, you come home and she's in your bed with her baby daddy. Or she's going to driving to fucking Detroit and riding around in his car, you know, doing something strange for a piece of change in the vehicle on the low where nobody can see him. These things happen. This is the risk you take.
His semen literally is implanted in neurons or in certain areas within the brain and as well as along the nervous system. It's real deep. You should look into the research behind what happens when a woman gets pregnant, even the women who have abortions, by the way. Now, if the man, her baby daddy, is not dead or in jail, then she has a connection and relationship with that man pretty much for the rest of her life. Even
if he's in jail, she's still got a connection.
After the kids are grown, there's still a certain level of need and opportunity that they're going to have ongoing communications, or events could come up that are going to force them to have to communicate.
And that's true. You're always going to be tied to the mother of your child or the father of your child, even after the child is grown. I know a lot of people like to say 18 and y'all can't wait to kick y'all child out at 18. I'm in disagreement with that also. But he is absolutely right. You are still going to have a connection with the person that you had a child with, even after they are adults. You imprinted on her. It's just the truth. And people that try to deny that, or people try to, think about it. He hasn't even talked about the fact that what if the guy is still playing a role in a child's life? Or, even worse, what if he wasn't and then he decides that he wants to, and then you decided to bond with his child?
And that actually happens. Brothers begin to, love kids as their own over time. You get attachment to them. They start calling you dad and stuff like that. This is the risk. This is the dangers of the stepdaddy lifestyle. And not only that, if this man, their father still wants to be a part of their life, he still has to arrange visitation. He still has to do custody exchanges with the mother. They still have to come face to face and see one another. And you got to remember, this man, when he sees this woman face to face, he has the flashback memories of knowing exactly how your woman looks naked. Knows exactly how her coochie tastes. How she comes. All of that. These were things go through with men when they look at women they dealt with, they popped. Those memories don't just go away. They had years of intimacy to create that child. So you think the feelings is going to stop? No, every time he comes in contact with a woman that he's dealt with, he's going to remember undressing her visibly with his eyes. He's going to remember how it tastes. He's going to miss it. And the woman feels the same way. So is this the type of situation that you must be required to wife down, as some of these other groups push and teach? Because, Genesis teaches that. IUIC teaches that. Hey, if you lay down with a woman, you have to make her your wife if she's an Israelite, meaning she's Israelite by heritage. Because they say if she's an Israelite, she's not an Israelite by faith when you first meet with these women. It's not like they just walking in a good way and been baptized by this truth. No. 9 out of 10 times, they're not going to gravitate towards this 100%. Especially when they come across the law of polygamy. They're not with that. They turn the other way. And these women, they get crazy out of order as is on their own. Let alone let them get it out of order, and they got kids, and they got an opportunity at all times, to commit adultery on you because they have to constantly meet this other man they had a child with.
I've seen videos where guys were denying a guy from being able to see his kid. Like, what? Who are you, sir?
Right, you got fathers that have become so super simplified. They try to get involved in another man's, affairs with his child and visitation, and all of a sudden they telling him he can't come to the house and he can't kill the kids. He doesn't do this for his child. All this stuff, man, it's so sick and twisted. And these type of things did not exist in the ancient world. Okay, it was unheard of and completely unacceptable for a woman to just leave and go with another man and then bring another man over those children that belong to another man. And that woman would be put to death in the ancient world behind stuff like that. But Babylon the Great, these things run rampant. And you got simple men that go out there and teach, oh, you got to wife these type of women up too. Make it make sense.
Stand back.
Why would you want to actively, intentionally, and willingly put yourself into a situation where you're basically sharing a woman with another man at some level? You see, when a man and woman come together, whether it's in marriage or not, okay, whether it literally was a fling or a long-term relationship that just didn't work out, when they have a child, they are a family. And I don't care what women say. A lot of women will say, oh, he wasn't ish, it didn't work out, he didn't want to be in the kid's life, blah, 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 blah. They can say whatever, they can demean the man however they want, they can label the man however they want, but at the end of the day, they're a family. At a biological level, it just is. There's no argument to be had. It really doesn't matter what the family court says. They're a family. So you are joining as the second male, or possibly third male if she got more than one baby daddy. You're joining a family that's already been established and adding yourself as an add-on to that. You have to have an incredibly low sense of self-esteem and self-worth.
And there's no benefit to that. You don't get any type of benefit. Like, that's not considered a benefit, a plus, an addition for a man. To have to take care of a child is not his own. You have to try to mentally, push your way into their mind to accept you as their own dad. You spend all this time with them. You spend all this money with them, taking them places and taking them to dinner and buying them gifts. And you do that for years and years. And just for the woman to do what a woman does in Babylon the Great, and her nature is to be in that Beyonce spirit of recycling men and jumping back on a cock carousel. So when she makes a selfish decision that you become too boring for her, or you don't meet her standards anymore that are overly high, overly achieved standards, and she wants to depart to go try with somebody else, now she breaks that kid's heart. She pulls this other guy that's been in her life away. So that's tearing apart the foundations. And then you got to take the brunt of it now twice. And depending on how many kids she has, that could be 1, 2, 3, 4 times of a heartbreak. You know? And then that could put confusion on the kids that she does, because now she's bringing a whole nother guy in the picture. Oh, it didn't work with the first time. She in her mind, I made a bad decision on this guy, but I made a good decision with this guy. Now let me go ahead and introduce him to my children. Women don't understand the risks and the dangers and the damages that they do behind that shit. And the Heavenly Father is tired of it, and he's beginning to bring judgment on these women. So this is why now you see videos of them crying on YouTube on how hard it is being a single mom, and how they're getting evicted, and they why complaining. But for years, you've been doing all this wicked sin and atrocity and breaking apart family after family after family and breaking your children's heart over and over again. And Lord is fed up with it. We're in a year now of judgment. We're seeing judgment happen to all these wicked people. So don't put yourself in this position.
To do that, here's why I say that. I've been coaching for around 5+ years, okay? But I've been in the game and I've been around this industry of success in dating relationships for 10 years. Often we do journals. So like, for example, in my program, when I bring a new student in, I give them a journal, 3 journals. My ideal self and value as a man, my ideal woman, my ideal lifestyle in relation to your romantic life. I have never once seen a man write out the journal, my ideal woman, and have any description in that journal that, yeah, I'm looking for a woman who's already had children by another man. I've never seen it. So whenever I see a man who's choosing to date a single mother, I know for a fact he's making that decision out of a scarcity of options.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. As you become older, the options become limited. But when you work on yourself and you improve on yourself better, you know, men, their value goes up with age. It's opposite for women. You know, so eventually this is why you see, you know, some brothers that are now, the trend is going around. You got men in their 40s that's just stacked, man. I mean, ripped, looking fantastic. You got men even in their 70s, real fit, looking good. You know, men become better with over time. You know, so eventually, if you stay on the point of improving on yourself and put your how about your mouth shot first, you will attract a woman that doesn't have all this stuff going on and is actually going to appreciate you for who you are. Because these single mothers, they do not appreciate when they get something blessed with them. They don't appreciate it. Like, you know, I met another single mother, you know, spring of well, actually it was around this time of last year. Yeah, right around New Year's Day, actually. You know, dealt with her for a few months, and she was gorgeous. I mean, this woman was stacked body wise. Like, oh my goodness, never had a woman that bad physically in a long time. But she's probably, you know, fit wise, body shape, hourglass was the perfect package of a body than any other woman I dealt with. You know, but that type of stuff went to her head because she would show me from time to time how many men have tried talking to her. And I mean, she sent me one night, like over 20 different, you know, pictures of guys that she's dated. I was like, well, it didn't work out with none of these dudes. And she would explain to me all the things that they would do for her. And it spoiled her. Because then in her mind, she's comparing the things that I do to what all these other guys have done. You know, so instead of her appreciating the fact that she actually had a man that's willing to deal with her when she had not 1, not 2, but 3 kids with 3 different fathers, you know, and because she's so fine and you got so many men constantly catcalling and trying to get with her because of her body and how her looks look, You know, it tainted to go into her head where she can't appreciate a God-given gift right in front of her. A man of Yahweh Shemal Shai teaching this work that chooses to deal with you, you know, and does it to the best he can. That's not good enough because he didn't, you know, make over $300,000 like one of the guys you've been with. You know, and what happened with that guy? She walked away because he got put on child support. As soon as he got a little bit of type of affliction, she's out of there, not supporting. So what more would that be for me? And I saw that from a mile away, and I let her go. Hey, she made it to chose to leave, and so she left. And then the scriptures say, if she depart, hey, she's not under bondage, let her go. You know, so now she's back being recycling a bunch of other men, still unmarried. It is not going to change, okay? Because their self-worth is overinflated, and they're not humble. And so that sets you up for a disaster, man. And before you know it, you know, you're with a woman for 3+ years. Next thing you know, she's looking at other men. She no longer wants to submit to your authority, is snapping on you, coming against you. And now you stuck. And God forbid you have a child with her. Because now you have to be forced to continue to interact with her for all these next 18 years. The same horrible person that ripped apart the family. And that's heartbreaking every exchange. It's not worth it, man. You don't wife a woman like that up. This is the book of Ecclesiastes 7:26. It says, hast thou a wife after thy mind? Forsake her not, but give not thyself over to a light woman. Right, man. If you have a wife that's after your mind, forsake her not. In some cases, yeah, you might get, you know, real lucky. You might get a woman that has a child already, you know, and maybe she's 100% single mother, like the other guy is not in the child's life at all. He could be, you know, permanently incarcerated, or just, you know, she could be widowed, you know. So in some cases that makes it a little bit easier to deal with her if there's not another man in the picture at all, you know. Because my experience from the last woman I took as my wife, you know, that last baby father, she was constantly still having feelings for the guy and trying to go back and forth with him, and we had a lot of fallouts behind that. You know, that shit is not worth it. And she brings that type of anger that he gave her, and you become the punching bag for it. You know, so that's considered a light woman. Don't give yourself over to a light woman. Okay? This is Amos 7:17. It says, therefore thus saith Yahweh, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in a polluted land, and Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of his land. All right, so this is a curse. All right, this is a curse put on all Israelite women. You know, the spirit at one point will hit them, and they will do this to one of the men that they've dealt with. Okay? They will become a harlot in the city, meaning they will choose to go deal with more than one man. And they will do it behind your back and lie to your face about it. Okay, so with this risk alone, it might not be wise just to take any woman as your wife just because you're having sex with her. Like, she's a concubine, then you just got to keep her as that concubine status. If she's a woman that has all these other kids and she's not after your own mind and your own heart, she's after her own and what you can do for her, she's not in her right mindset. That's a woman that is seeking what she can get out of a man, you know, to take advantage. And they look at men as just tools in society, what they can get out of them and what they can do for them. They think that we're created to serve them. They don't understand Yahweh Shem Shai, his word said his woman is created for the man, not the man for the woman. Okay? This is 1 Corinthians 7:27. It says, art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loose. Art thou loose from a wife? Seek not a wife. Right? If you're bound unto a wife, you have one, you're going to have issues. You're going to have, Paul said, trouble in the flesh. You're going to have it. So seek not to be loose, because that's to be expected. You made the choice to take a wife, then that's the responsibility you got to deal with. You know, you're going to have problems, but the problems must not go too far to where it turns into disrespect of your authority as a man and a flight risk of adultery. Once she starts dipping her toes into that water, then Spartan kick her into the damn pool. You know, and keep it moving. Okay? Spartan kick her into the pool and bye. See you later. Keep it pushing. That's what you got to do, man. You got to be willing to let them go. Ecclesiastes 25:26. If she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh and give her a bill of divorce and let her go. Right. And that bill of divorce means that you get nothing. You know, you leave with nothing. You're free to go, you know, but you're supposed to be reconciled unto your husband, women. He says, but unless she depart, let her remain unmarried unless she be reconciled. Here it is right here, 1 Corinthians 7:11. But and if she depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. Right, man. So, but if she leave, she's not supposed to go to church and try it again and test more options. She's supposed to remain unmarried. So her mind get right, and she can finally have the integrity to come to you and apologize, admit her faults. The scriptures talk about confess your faults one to another. You know, and these women don't want to do that. They don't take accountability. Instead, they rather mentally play the victim card, then convince themselves of it. Like they actually come to the point that they'll believe it. You have a woman that'll commit adultery, will completely sabotage the relationship, kick in a man's door, spit in his face, cause the relationship to be forced to end because he has to protect himself. And then will turn the narrative and say, oh, I was abused. Motherfucker, you the one that just did the abuse. You're the one that just shattered your home and destroyed, you know, this family, and created all these trauma in these kids' lives. And all of a sudden, you know, you were abused or you were trapped and all this other stuff. You know, they come up with all sorts of bullshit. Okay, so you got to use wisdom in this aspect. These are problems that you're going to have when you choose to deal with a woman as a wife. Okay? But if she depart, let her remain unmarried or she be reconciled. And a lot of times, eventually over time heals all wounds. They begin to see the error of their ways over time. And some of them baby daddies they got are actually excellent, outstanding men. And so the really good ones, when they know they're the ones that fucked up over time, they start learning from life. Life teaches lessons. Time heals all wounds. You know, they'll get experience with the next guy and they'll just completely dog our ass out. I mean, he'll just beat the shit out of her on a regular basis. You know, and she'll start reflecting on the times where the one righteous man she had really was a good guy and treated her right. And she took advantage. And she think that she can just have him in her back pocket and go back to him because she has a cute face or has a snatcher between her legs. So she thinks she can just snatch him back up at any moment. That's not reality, women. You deal with a man and, you know, he's laid down with you and you gave your body away to another guy after him, it's over forever. Okay? This is 1 Corinthians 7:28 says, but if thou marry, thou hast not sinned. And if a virgin marry, she hath not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you, right? You know, Paul spared us with this advice. You know, just don't even go through it. You know, just keep your eyes single on your how about your mouth shy if you can. But 9 out of 10, if you're a young man, you know, and you're under 50 years old, you know, especially if you're under 40, and even younger, if you're under 30, you know, hey, them hormones gonna be raging. Like you're gonna want some ass every once in a while. You're gonna want the touch of a woman. You're gonna, you know, want to wake up to a woman right next to you. You know, that warmth body, feeling that soft body. You know, get some cooked breakfast brung to you, man, in the morning. Cook dinner. You know, you're gonna miss having the time, the laugh, and the attention, the affection, the good times, the dating, all that courting. You know, all that stuff is a fantastic feeling. You know, so, you know, you're not, but if you marry, you haven't sinned, you know, and if she hasn't sinned if she chooses to do so, but you're going to have trouble in the flesh. So it's just probably not even worth it. If you have the willpower to not deal with them, then that's the better way to go. Just keep your eyes single on your how about your man was shy. Focus on the faith and believing and leave it at that. because these are the issues that you're going to have. And over time, you know, if a woman has already been with so many men, over time, she always breaks. They always fold and go back to the carousel. They get tired of you over time. There's no amount of vacationing and traveling the world that you can do and money you can spend on them. They still become ungrateful. I gave you the example of the last woman I dealt with. You know, she told me about the guy she was with before me. This guy was damn near a millionaire, and he was spoiling her. You know, spending, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on just going out to dinner and taking her on trips and spending money lavishly, you know, because he had it like that. But this guy wasn't a man, how about Shemal Shai, and he was a simp. He actually had his nuts cut off for her. Like, he went and had his testicles removed so he wouldn't get her pregnant. But she kept all her reproductive organs intact. Wouldn't even put an IUD or, you know, birth control at all. She didn't have to do nothing. But he got to cut his nuts off. So he became emasculated and emotional. He basically became like, as a woman, she lost all respect for him. Then he got put on child support from another baby mama, and she popped smoke immediately. She out of there because he could no longer afford to spoil her like she was used to. So she left, dated a bunch of other guys, random dudes, all walks of life, different guys, Edomites, all sorts of body shape, sizes, you name it. It didn't matter to her. She didn't care, you know. And then she came across me, and then fumbled that, you know. So, you know, it says, "But I spare you," you know, to avoid the heartbreak. Just don't even worry about it. It says, "But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none." Right? The time is short, so you gotta really focus on teaching. And, you know, it gotta be to other brothers that you probably don't even have a wife, the way it comes across by how much work you pushing out for this truth. You shouldn't be parading them around. You gotta show the world you got a wife. Nobody gives a shit. As soon as you start showing her off, somebody's gonna look, oh, she looks really good. And you got somebody seeking to prey on your property and seek to take her, and she'll let them do it. If you've been together long enough and she wants some new excitement and new taste of something else, she'll let them do it. Why? Because she has unlimited exposure and opportunity to do so. And that has gone to their head. They're spoiled. You know, they had a term of spoiled brat is a kid that can never have enough. And that's the mentality of these women. Okay? It says, "And they that weep as though they weep not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not." It says, "And they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passes away," right? Everything passes away. Everything carnal and tangible, you know, women, commodities like that, all that stuff is temporary. So you can't set your heart upon it. Now, if she has a mind after Yahweh Shemal Shai's heart, and she's really, you know, exemplifying the traits of close as she can as a Proverbs 31 woman, you know, a virtuous woman, then you hold on to her. And you be grateful for what you got. But most of us just don't get that. Why? Because the scriptures say they're rare. Those women are really rare to find. Their price is far above rubies. Not every single woman is something that you can make into a virtuous woman. That's not your job. That's Yahweh Shemal Shai's job. Okay? This is Colossians 3:2. Says, "Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth," right, man? And that includes women on this earth. Because a lot of them are given into Satan, Esau, Edom. And they accept the philosophies and understanding of what Esau dictates of what a marriage is. So they're going to require you to try to put them a marriage on paper. And then, like I said, as soon as they get bored, something go wrong, they start getting out of order, and you're not submitting to them. They feel that they need to be submitted to, you know, and they want to look at another guy that's taller than you, got a bigger rod, whatever it is. They ready to pop smoke, you know, so you can lose that at any given time. Then, because you put them on paper, now you got to go through the court to get a legal divorce. And guess what? She's taking everything. All of it. All of it, man. And while you think your woman really has your back, just because you're in this truth and you're the woman that you kind of been teaching for some years, some time, don't think 100% that she's about to stay with it. The statistics wise speaking, the chances of her leaving and cheating on you are extremely high. They get bored and they get dissatisfied, and they over time they begin to lose appreciation for what they got. They forget all that you've done. It becomes not important until it's gone. And even after it's gone, once it's gone and she's let someone else in, you're not about to want to deal with her no more. She's tainted. Now you have to deal with somebody else's semen and sperm flowing through her brain. Now you have to deal with somebody else's personality. So what happens when she cheats on you? Secretly, you get back with her and it's constant fights. It gets bad and it gets dangerous. And it can be deadly. Why? Because now she belongs to another man. You're dealing with somebody else's property, even though that was yours at first. It's not a good look. Ecclesiastes 25:19 says, all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. Right, man. You know, all wickedness is but little. So the chances that they're going to do something catastrophic towards you is very, very high. And yeah, that most of all of them, they all good at first. For the first month or so, a couple weeks, they be doing everything they're supposed to do because the limerence is there. You look at that word limerence and you'll see what I'm talking about. You know, the excitement of the first initial, meeting somebody, and they try to do everything right that where they messed up at the last relationship with the new guy. So it looks all good at first, and over time that mask just falls off and everything fades, man, and you see that wickedness come out. This is 2 Samuel 5:13 says, and David took him more concubines and wives out of Jerusalem after he was come from Hebron, and there were yet sons and daughters born of David, and he wasn't in sin for doing this. Okay? Men can have concubines and wives. All right? And there has to be a distinction there as a man using wisdom on what position you're going to place this woman in. Is she going to be a concubine because she's concubine material? Or is she going to be a wife because she's wife material? And a lot of these women that are single mothers, that don't believe in Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that don't have, the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushai in their inward parts, that don't believe, okay? Because they'll tell you if they don't support what you believe in. You say you're Israelite, I don't get with that. I think that's cultish. That's how they think. You know what category to put them in if you still want to pop them and deal with them. You're not obligated to take them as a wife. You could take as many concubines as you want, and if you do come across, a good woman that's wife material, you could take as many wives as you need. That's it. Know the distinction, man. So with that, Lord's will, this lesson is edifying. I'm going to close out. Give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, by Shem Kakadash. Double honor to our apostles, elders, great millstone, Tasha's truth and will well. And citation to you, hopefully, pushing this truth and honesty, sincerity. Shalom.